Hey y'all, welcome to my YouTube channel where I create content that inspires you to live a healthy and balanced lifestyle. I want to give you a glance into my life and how I am able to balance work and wellness through productivity, self-care, and organization. First, I want to say thank you so much for clicking on this video and allowing me to share my ways and how I am able to create a simple budget that will help you maximize your income and achieve your financial goals. So let's get started. So I like to do what I call a simple budget, something that makes sense to me and that is um, simple enough to be able to share with everyone. So here I like to use Microsoft Excel to calculate my income and expenses and my paycheck breakdown. These are these tabs at the very bottom. This first tab, my income. You guys should know that I do work two jobs. I work a regular 9 to 5 job in the morning and a part-time job in the evening. So income one is my main income, which is my 9 to 5 job, and income two is my part-time job. So you'll see those numbers here. And I like to see what I make before taxes and the amount that I make bringing home after taxes and healthcare has been entered. So this amount here in D, in column D here, is the amount that gets taken out each month in taxes and healthcare. This column C here is the amount that I actually bring home. So you'll see that total of $3,520 that I actually bring home from both jobs each month. So that's that. Here in this section here, I like to calculate my tithes and offering for the month. Based off of my faith and my beliefs, I like to give 10% of my taxable income, and then 10% of that tithe is my offering. And I like to see the remaining income afterwards, which would be slightly different because I do round my tithes and offerings. So you'll see this 387 here per month. I like to round that to 400, and this 194 weekly, which is my bi-weekly paychecks. I like to take that out of my income one, which gets rounded to 200. So these numbers are slightly off, but I do like to round it, and I will have that in my monthly expenses and my paycheck breakdown. You'll see that there. So I do like to do what's called a zero-based budget, which was inspired from Dave Ramsey. And I like to use a zero-based budget so that I can know exactly where each penny is allocated. I like to be able to allocate based off of a zero-based budget, which means my income equals my expenses and that they both balance. So you'll see here, my income of $35.20 will exactly equal my monthly expense total of $35.20 as well. Now that brings me to my monthly expenses spreadsheet. The second tab here, you will see a breakdown of, let me zoom that in, of my monthly expenses. Now I like to be able to, let me see this on a bigger spectrum. I like to be able to break down exactly what I'll be planning to spend each month. So in here, you will see every single thing that I plan to spend in the month of February, how much that amount is, what type of expense it is, and the bank account that it will be drawing from. Now, for some of you, you may have one account, bank account, you may have multiple. That's totally up to you. However, I like to keep it simple because this is a simple budget. So I have one bank account solely for the purpose of automatic payments and paying my bills for the month. This account is also my savings account for my savings goals, which I'll discuss at a later time. However, I like to be able to see clearly what day each of these are pulling from. So as you can see here, I have, of course, the tithes and offering, which, like I said, I rounded to 200. I have another one coming out February 16th of the $200, which is my giving category here. That's just an example. And then I also have an expense of my sister's birthday coming up. And we're going out to eat, and I like to give her something for her birthday. So I set a budget for that. So when we do go out to eat, I know not to spend over that limit, and keep it within that amount here. And so you'll just see just a breakdown of all of my expenses here and my debt. I have a few things that I'm planning on paying off very soon. So I kind of hit hard in those areas because that is my number one financial goal for this year is to eliminate some of my debt. So here you'll see that amount of 3520 for my total expenses for the month of February. Now down here, I also like to see what expenses are coming out of each bank. So you'll see here's one of my banks here, and here's another bank. Um, you'll see each breakdown, and I actually have my jobs direct deposit a certain amount to each of these accounts so that I am on point and everything is accurate because I have a pretty consistent income. So I'm able to say, okay, this is how much I want in this account, and this is how much I want in this account. So to be more specific, I have majority of my income goes to this first bank account because this is where most of my expenses are pulled from automatically each month. Now down here, I kind of set a specific amount to be direct deposited into this account. It kind of is like I give myself an allowance each month. So allowance for gas, groceries, and just to save. I like to have a additional $100 savings just for the month in case I happen to go over budget for this account, or I may have an emergency where I need air in my tires, or I need an oil change, or something that's unexpected that I can put into this account that I'll be able to afford for the month. So I kind of like to have a little bit of cushion. And if I don't use it, it just stacks up, and I'm able to save that way as well. However, I like to use that additional $100 a month to save and just to have for the month. So that kind of concludes my monthly expenses. Like I said, it matches accurately to the amount of income that I bring in of the 3520. Now for the next sheet here, the tab called Paycheck Breakdown. I like to break down each of my expenses into the paychecks that I'll be getting for the month. So here you can see in this coral color, my income one, I get paid February 2nd, which would be the first paycheck of the month. And these are the expenses that is pulling out of this bank account. I also have an amount pulling from this bank account as well, but I don't get paid for that. So income two really goes to this account, which is an additional income from my part-time job. So I use that $400 allowance, as you can see here, goes to only this bank account, and the rest of it goes to this first bank account here. Now you can see each week I have what's called carryover from the previous week. I wanted to start this since this is my very first video. I wanted to start it with a completely brand new budget. So I don't want to include any carryover from the previous week. All that money will be from the leftover that I have from January will just sit in my account. I also like to add that to my savings account. So whatever balance I have left over, I'll add it to my savings account. But I don't normally have that because everything is allocated and accounted for. So for this first paycheck, you can see this is my main income. So you'll see my tithes and offering getting pulled from this paycheck, my savings account, whatever date that this paycheck falls under, or these expenses fall under within paycheck one and paycheck two. I like to break it down that way. So I'm kind of like making sure that I have the funds to cover these expenses is what it is. So here you'll see I have an income of $11.30 for that first paycheck. And these expenses don't necessarily make up that entire amount. So it leaves me with a balance of $544. But I want to carry that on to the next week. Of course, I'm not going to pull that 544 out of my bank account and just use it, thinking that it's just an overage. But this money is accounted for as well. So I carry it over into the next paycheck, or the next week of expenses, I should say, because that 544 being carried over makes up for the next set of expenses. So with my second income, I bring in about $430 just solely into this bank account, which gets deposited into this. The rest of it goes to the second account. However, that income plus the balance carried over from the previous week, that amount here, I am able to cover the expenses in this as well. But you see here, I still have an overage of $494, because these set of expenses is less than the amount of money that I would have in that account. So this $494 will then get carried over to the next set of expenses, which is a bit more than what I actually would bring in. So if I didn't have this, I would probably be short. But like I said, everything is accounted for. So this $494 gets carried over from the previous week, and it gets added to the $11.30 paycheck. That amount of that paycheck from my main income, that income gets added to the previous week's balance. So that amount will then also cover these expenses and more, which leaves me a balance of $147 that will then get carried over to the next week. So you kind of see there's a cycle here where this money, although this income over exceeds the amount of expenses for that week, I'm able to carry that balance over and apply it to the next set of expenses and so forth. So you'll see here this balance of $147 get carried over to this amount of expenses here, which then I also get that second income and that fourth paycheck of the month, which is the very last week of February. I'm able to cover exactly the amount of expenses or the remaining amount of expenses for the month of February, which leaves me with a balance of zero. So this amount, this very first this very first bank account, which is my main bank account that gets deducted. These expenses get deducted from this very first bank account, which is this first section up here. I like to be able to show that so that I'm not using that bank account for any other reasons but for these expenses. That's why you see a zero balance here. The amount of income that I make for that month or is getting direct deposited to that bank covers each one of these expenses. And then moving down, you will see the second account I have solely for the $400 a month allowance that I give myself for my second job. That amount, as you can see, this green color here is my part-time job income. So for income 2, I usually, put gas in my car, so I allow myself at least $35 every 2 weeks because I do work from home for my main job, and my part-time job is only 20 minutes away, so I'm not using much gas, but I do like to allow myself $35 every 2 weeks, and a total of $70. And I like to break that up by paycheck week. So every time I get paid for my second job, I'll put gas in my car for the $35, which roughly, it may be over, it may be under. So I still have that little leg room from the savings account I have of $100 in case I do go over in gas. Um, so carrying on, I don't have any expenses for these off weeks here, because I don't normally purchase anything using that card. So I do like to just leave those blank. But if I do, I'll see it on my bank statement, but it's usually accounted for. So with this second section here, the second income coming into the second bank account, you'll see $200. I like to give myself $200 from that income every 2 weeks that I get paid, and to this bank account. So for gas, I will only plan to spend $35 in gas coming out of that 200, which leaves me with a $165 balance, which will then get carried on to the next few weeks. And let me scoot this over. You will see I have my groceries and household expense coming out, my savings account coming out at the end of the month, and gas for the next week or so. So what I like to do is bulk grocery shop, meaning I just like to get everything. I like to plan my meals out for the week and for the month. Get enough groceries to last me. Any household items like tissue, paper towel, soap, anything of that nature, laundry detergent, all of that is inside of this $230. So when I am grocery shopping, I like to kind of get everything in the same day. That way it's easier for me to say, hey, let me write down a list, let me plan for the following month, and this is the amount of money I'm going to spend. And I normally stay within that budget. Since I'm a single person and I live by myself, I'm able to stay within that budget because I already know the things that I need. I know what I like to eat. I like to meal plan and meal prep, so I'm able to stay within that budget, and it's been working for me. So you will see that grocery amount there towards the end of the month, and then I'm able to put that amount into that $100 cushion into my savings account, which is just in case I need something, it's there. So down here, you'll see my total income, total expenses, overage and shortage amount, and my subtotal. So you will see this subtotal blank for the most part. Down here at the bottom, I did it so that each paycheck, or each week, I should say, shows the amounts here at the very bottom. So for this week, I had a total income of $1130, and total expenses only hit $586. So you'll see that I'm over that $544 that I discussed before, which will then get carried on over to the next paycheck. Here, I only brought in $630 for this week, which is my second job. The total expenses only hit $515 for that week, which left me with an overage of $115, which get carried over to the next paycheck. And then for this third paycheck, you will see I was a bit short. However, these overages make up that shortage and the following shortage. So you can see here my total income of that week was $1130, but my expenses was $1,477. That's $1,477 that I had in total expenses. However, the amounts here that I had carried over make up for that shortage. So you will see that. And then the very last week of February, I had a total income of $630, but my total expenses was $942. So you will see that $312 shortage, but that is made up from the overage I had over here from week 1 and 2. That gets carried over to the following week, or the following week and the very last week of the month. So you will see these are blank here for the overage and subtotal for the month, because I brought in exactly $3,520, and I spent or plan to spend $3,520. So this is all based off of what I plan to do. Of course, things pop up. I may go over budget, but I also have that $100 that I like to save out of my second income to make up for any overage in spending that I may have. However, this kind of concludes my simple budget here. I'm able to show my income of both jobs and the amounts that I get paid after tax and healthcare is taken out. I'm also able to show my tithes and offering for the month and broken down by weekly paychecks, and the remaining income after that tithes and offering has been taken out. I also show here my monthly expenses. I'm able to break down by each due date and date that I plan to pay these expenses, the amount of each expense, the type of expense it is, and what bank account it is pulling from. Down here at the bottom, again, you will see that breakdown of each bank account and each expense pulling from that bank account and the amount of money that gets direct deposited into that account from my incomes. This next sheet again is a paycheck by paycheck breakdown, so that each one of my expenses is allocated appropriately to the amount of income that I get paid each week. So this helps me to say, okay, for this paycheck, I'm able to pay this expense, and so forth and so forth. You may see overages, you may see shortages. However, all in all, it balances out to zero, which is what I meant by a zero-based budget. My total income will equal my total expenses for the month, and that's what I plan to do, and it's been helping me thus far, and I hope this inspires you, and I hope that it helps you to use just a simple budget, a zero-based budget, and it'll help you maximize your income and achieve your financial goals. That concludes my simple budget. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you were inspired. And if you really like this video or are interested to see what I post in the coming future, please like, comment, and subscribe, and be sure to click that notification bell so that you are aware of when I post. Again, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.